Political correctness.
Sexism.
Racism.
Homophobia.
Diversity.
Civilized.
Liberal.
Ideology.
Peace.
Respect.
Restricted.
Judge.
Sensitivity.
Ben.
Opinion.
Fear.
Hope.
Freedom of speech.
I think we all have freedom of speech to a certain degree, although due to the rise in political correctness, sometimes freedom of speech can be massively restricted in order not to offend anybody.
Today is 21st century. I think everybody have a right to express themselves as long as they don't violate some vulnerable people. For example, you can't say any racial discriminations or any discrimination that relates ethics, sexuality, or political correctness. So as long as it's restricted in that way, I believe that freedom of speech has to be provided for every human being.
I feel as though I do have freedom of speech, yes. At least more so than people have had in the past. I think it's a good thing as it can bring about a beneficial change in society. One person's opinion may inspire someone to state theirs, and then if many people express the same opinion, it could influence a change in society for the better. For an example, during the Civil Rights Movement, freedom of speech during that movement caused segregation of races to be abolished.
Social media, what it does is it gives everyone a voice, maybe in other forms, in other areas where they may not be able to express themselves or communicate. It's an open space in which they can say whatever they want, really, and it's a space that is welcome to all. So maybe it's applicable to everyone.
I believe it's a lot easier to get your opinion across on social media than in real life, as it's tricky to do marches and protests, for example, as they often end badly. With social media, the smaller minority groups are able to get their point across clearly and effectively, without as many consequences. I also think it's a good thing as through social media you can broaden the amount of people your opinion reaches, as people are able to share it to their friends.
LGBT problem is really, unforgivable to even discuss about in my country, which is really sad about. So when I personally support LGBTs, and I think they have to take a right just like any other sexualities. When I say this in a public or in anywhere in Korea, then I get criticized or I get insults really badly.
I think that there's an underlying tension in contemporary society that you have to be mindful of how people will react. I do. And I think it can be quite destructive when it overtakes and promotes a fear in people when maybe a number of years ago that wouldn't have existed. Maybe things would have been more peaceful.
I do think there should be limitations, otherwise it will get to a point where no one will understand what is okay to say and what isn't anymore, which seems to already be the case as more and more people are restraining themselves from making a point.
I think that the limits of what political correctness does, I think can be very restricting, and particularly with general comments, general opinions. For example, if a 300-pound woman on the front of a magazine, one could say, well, she's unhealthy, she's doing bad things to her health. On the other hand, you could say that she's a plus-size model. It's subjective, and that's the key here.
Words and forms of expression that discriminate against people that are different race or sexuality shouldn't be used as insults to a group of people. We shouldn't disadvantage and discriminate against other people that are different to ourselves. We should express our individuality and it should be celebrated.
Every day, people live in fear of saying the wrong thing.
We live within a society that glorifies reading off the script.
But the truth is, political correctness kills connection, relationships, and true kindness.
Being PC has become nothing but an alternative for people to hide behind, so they appear kind, without actually meaning it.
So what's the solution?
How about being kind? Why don't we stand together and unapologetically share what we have to say, whilst being respectful to each other?
Why?
Because it feels good and it treats people well.
then it gives you permission to be you. When you're just reading off the script, you're definitely not being yourself.
Envision a world where people forget to be fake whilst being kind.
So don't live in fear.
Step out of the shadows.
And be bold, be strong, and stand for something more. Because what you have to say matters. There is always hope, you just have to look for it.